In February of 2025, this year, AMD touted their new milestone for 100 million AMD-based consoles sold. Now, this is a manufacturer of PC components, Advanced Micro Devices, I think it's the name of the company. It's very interesting because, in the conversation as to console sales, this was fought over as to what devices were using these chips and what it meant for the sales of Xbox consoles and Steam Decks and PlayStation 5 consoles and so on and so forth. The very funny thing, though, is with all of this being said, whenever I have the conversation about PC components and PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X and all of that, you see everybody take up arms and jump into their factions. What I tell those who play on console, especially the ones who may get defensive, is you need to relax because your console is actually just a computer that has been customized for either PlayStation or Xbox just to fulfill their own grand scheme. That's pretty much what it is. If you've taken the time to actually watch maybe say a video like this on Digital Foundry, you can see the inside of what is in your Series X being used as a PC to actually run games and benchmark them, and you can see their performance. This is not something that is foreign. It's a video as old as about 2 years ago, July 2023. And the shame is this video doesn't even have as many views as would be needed when it came down to it. So it brings me to a comment that somebody made about this particular video. I made a 20-minute video where I showed and tested a 5800X 3D paired with a 6750 XT, and I ran Horizon Forbidden West in 1080p. That's all I did. I take that back. I ran Horizon Forbidden West and Indiana Jones and The Great Circle. In that, I've seen so many comments. I welcome them all, but here's the thing. We have to actually delve into a data-driven aspect of this conversation. Does that make sense? This user said in that video, their name, not NAU2, I don't know what it is. They said, actually, testing shows that 7800 or 4070 is the closest to a PS5 Pro. This is a lie. Do you know how I know that it's a lie? And, honestly, NAU2, I'm not calling you a liar. I understand that particular notion was actually propagated by Richard Ledbetter of Digital Foundry, hip-firing what he thought, based on leaks, would be the performance of the PS5 Pro. It wasn't intended to be the official statement. He just looked and said, from the leaks that we've seen, the teraflop, considerations, this is what my own analysis is looking like. That's where that propagated from. And for some strange reason, a lot of fanboys carried that thing and ran with it. Now, as to a 4070, oh my gosh, you would not even believe your eyes when I show you this, because this is that video that really went ahead to just actually obliterate the argument. And since this video, ladies and gentlemen, Digital Foundry has not done any such testing again. This was the video published 5 months ago last year to 205,000 views, where they took Alan Wake 2, they looked at the PS5 Pro Tech review, they compared it with PSSR, DLSS, Pros RT versus PC. They did different testing metrics, checking the quality modes across the board between the PS5 and the PS5 Pro. They did the comparison in terms of performance, and then they walked into the PC territory. This was where the PlayStation 5 got born naked. The objection that we heard was that Alan Wake 2 was an NVIDIA structured game. However, what's been telling is since then, we haven't seen Digital Foundry even bother with any more comparisons using the 4070 versus the PS5 Pro that I can find. Perhaps there may be one out there. Let me go back to this comment so that I can help you understand that I followed this 4070 argument so well that everything that came out, I was very, very interested in, because I knew that if they gave you a 4070 based, console, it would have to be at least $1,500, maybe even $1,700. Because they'd have to pair that 4070 or 7800 level power with a CPU that is appropriate, which is a part that those who want to jump in front of these conversations are not considering, that your CPU that is inside of your PS5 is already known in terms of its capability. Again, a Digital Foundry hardware analysis video where they got their hands on the 4800S and were able to test it, and everybody knows that the PS5 version is a 4700S. From a hardware perspective, this should not even be a conversation. Okay? And I had this argument. It's like I'm in deja vu again, where people are talking about this. And then when it came down to it, they went ahead and they tested the FPS between both of these two. And in one case, they had to actually go back and use a custom software, right, to scale down the resolution of the game so that they could actually test and compare it to what the PS5 Pro's resolution was. Because the PC didn't even have access to such a lowered resolution when it came down to it. This is how bad the bloodbath was. And since then, everybody just kind of walked away from that particular, paradigm, testing, PlayStation 5 Pro versus, testing the PlayStation 5 Pro versus the GPUs that are dedicated in terms of their use and in terms of their hardware. So now we've looked at that and that particular argument that is being made here, which they said the other piece is when you upscale to 4K, a console is smoking a $1,000 build. This person said can y'all imagine this? See, y'all need to help me, man. This person, for context, I have a Series X, a PS5 Pro, and a PC. They said these arguments are becoming ridiculous to me. Missing the cost of a Windows 11 license, it's free, homie. A mouse and a keyboard is $18 on Amazon. And the fact that you can't pick one-to-one parts because the optimization of a console that the PC lacks, you need 5 to 10% more raw power to match the console's optimized performance. Yo, upscaling is not raw rasterization performance. Do you not understand what you're saying? You said Iceberg Tech did a video on this. Iceberg Tech has done many videos on this. We've been following this stuff all the while. Even Iceberg Tech, whenever he goes ahead and talks about his videos, he never mentions, and this is something I noticed, I don't know why, he never mentions the 4800S desktop kit and the 4700S desktop kits. He never mentions them because let me show you something crazy. This user, I'm glad that you actually jumped into this argument because this was actually very interesting. When they took this 4800S desktop kit, right, and they ran benchmarks on Gotham Knights, I really enjoyed this particular video because of Gotham Knights. A game that I played extensively on. And they took the 4800S and they looked at the way it actually did work running high settings. Gotham Knights could not lock in 60 FPS because it was limited by the CPU from that particular device, which is something that they had seen the symptoms of at the onset of the game and even after the game was optimized fully. The game right now has received solid optimization, but the developers were unwilling to unlock that particular game to more than 30 FPS on the consoles because they had their online piece, which usually in some cases will tank performance, and they could not guarantee that that performance was not going to tank on console any lower. So even pairing that particular thing with a 7900 XTX, Gotham Knights still behaved a similar way. In the opening, it showed 60 FPS, but as they made their way through the open world, they started to see dips as low as 42 FPS, which is not a range that they were comfortable doing it. So when I see Iceberg Tech's videos and he's playing these, most of the time he will do PlayStation games. He doesn't look at the third-party games that are out there because, to be honest, PlayStation games are not a good measure to actually go ahead and do, the comparisons. What you would probably be better off doing is take an average scale in terms of FPS and rendering based on raw rasterization quality. However, the consoles can't do raw rasterization, hence they need to be upscaled and also implement dynamic resolution. For you to say dynamic resolution that is available to the console or checkerboard rendering is better than a $1,000 PC build, I have to say, and with all due respect, it's quite ignorant. It is. Because what you're saying is the console basically using cheat code is better than the raw rasterization power of a device that has a better and even verifiable hardware piece than it. So how is your PS5 Pro, which doesn't have the raw rasterization power of, in terms of its CPU, a 5700X or a 5800X 3D, and in terms of a GPU, it's closer to the 6800, or in some cases anyways, or the 6750 XT in that regard. How is it able to render better graphics if it needs upscaling in the first place? It's insane to think that, because if PC had access to the same kind of checkerboard rendering that's used in a lot of the PlayStation games, by design and by nature, it would render better graphics if the developers put in the effort to actually program those graphic capabilities onto the PC versions of their game. So it's very funny that everybody, after saying, oh, you can't reach you can't get the same performance, now we want to drop upscaling so quietly into this particular mix. Or the cost of the Windows key. This PC that I showed you guys, I've never paid for a Windows key for it. Believe you me, it doesn't have a Windows key. Once in a while, the activate Windows thing will pop up, but here's the PC. It's the PC that I built to destroy this argument. I had no need to build this PC, but I was like, nah, we're going to have this PC sit here as a testament to exactly what I'm saying, so that way I'm not saying something that I'm not walking. And I game on, I plugged it to my TV, I pulled it into my office to run some of these metrics, and we're only at 1080, and everybody's already shaking in their boots calling upscaling to 4K. Literally, we're at 1080, and everyone is already yelling upscaling to 4K, as if a PC can't upscale to 4K as well. This person replied and said, you're forgetting that you're paying for something that's limited in its capabilities and all that. Yo, Nick5419, you didn't even have to argue all of these other things. You know what I mean? All this weird stuff that they're talking about. As to for anybody that comes in and cites Windows key, you already know this is a dead giveaway, right? That you would come in and cite a Windows key when you can literally go to Microsoft's website and just say Windows 11 download. This is it right here. They'll be like, all right, go get your USB. You'll be wondering, like, really? Yeah, you can literally go to their website. It's not a phishing website. It's got the Microsoft certificate and everything. You can check it over here, and you can pretty much get in here. You can click download. You can create your installation media for Windows 11. Shoot, if you want Windows 10, bro, they got Windows 10 as well, too, where even though they're going to be removing support, you might as well come and get your own Windows 10 right now. And so I got to say, again, you're in a foreign land. A lot of people want to talk about PC gaming. I don't care if you have a gaming PC. And some people are starting to now doubt if truly okay, let me not say that. What is in your PC build, by the way? If you ever watch this video, I have a question for you. Tell us the components in your PC build. Let me do an assessment of the components in your PC. Because I see a lot of people say they have a PC. When I ask them, what's your PC build? I usually get very interesting answers. So let's do this. I'll pin your comment on the video, right? And I'll wait for a response. Let me reply and say, let's go to the pinned comment and say, what's your PC build? Let's start doing that. Anybody that says, oh, I have a PC, I have an Xbox and a PS5, and they say, oh, I ask them, what's your PC build? And then, I'll do mine and you do yours, is what they say, right? I'll show you mine, you show me yours, whatever the heck that is. Here's mine. Well, this is one. I don't game on this build. It's not a good comparison in terms of showing, say, where I game on. I did show you the PC build in that video for that PC. That's one of my builds. Here's another one. This is one I used to make a lot of content. I do game development on. 4090, an old school AM4. I know I'm not going to AM5 on this build just yet, guys. Get out of here. I did the AM5. That's for a different video, though. We'll talk about that later. Ryzen 9 5950X. I really do enjoy, using PCs, gaming on PCs and such. I'm just curious, when you say you have a PC, what are you running, though? Because for you to come to these conclusions and talk about a Windows key when you already have a PC, did you pay $100 for a Windows key? Maybe you did. Comment section. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.